Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Ruthless. We're on season 4, episode 22, entitled Fistful of Greed. So let's just jump right into it. At the end of last episode, Lewis and George and crew had enacted their plan to get off of the compound, and that's where we're picking back up at. And so we're at the prophecy, and George, Lewis, and all their guys have put their plan into motion. Daikon is trying to get George to put the guns down, but they're really not hearing none of it. You know, they're really feeling real bold in their chests, you know, thinking that they've pulled off this grand heist, as well as being able to get out of this place. And so the heist tells the soldiers to, you know, go ahead and kill Lewis. You know, it doesn't matter if I die, we all got to die. At some point, we just know that we are going to see the Raku, blah, 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 blah. Really kind of calling Lewis's bluff a little bit. And it seems like these soldiers are hesitating because they don't want him to be killed, right? So the heist he doesn't appear to be scared at all. And Daikon says, you know what, since the soldiers won't do it, I'm going to do it. And he grabs a gun from one of the soldiers and attempts to shoot George. And it turns out that those guns are empty. It turns out George, Lewis, let's just go with George. I think George has emptied all of the guns of all the people that are not with their escape plan, right? Really, what I would say is that the plan is very much flawless for the most part. We get to the end and we screw it up, but the plan was a really good one. Like, they took the bullets out of the guns. They've taken the, you know, the highest commodity that there is in the compound. Really good job. Execution also great, but they screwed up in a couple places, and I think Ruth know that they were going to, and she planned for these things. Either way, Daikon grabs the gun, and turns out that they're empty. And then George shows him, like, demonstrates, you know, by shooting up in the air, letting him know, like, hey, listen, mine ain't empty. So if you think it's a game, it's really not. And then Lewis calls the heist his bluff. He's like, well, are you ready to die? Like, are you willing to die for your people? And he's like, you know, I ain't trying to die, you know, whatever. And he calls his bluff. And so now George and Lewis has taken this time to let the people know, like, look, like if this your king, this guy's selling y'all this Raku dream and that he's the highest and he's all of these things and he's not willing to die for you. So, you know, I need y'all to wake up. And, you know, George takes the reins. He's like, yeah, you know, look what y'all are, you know, giving your lives for, and he's not ready to give his life for y'all. Like, I need y'all to wake up and really see the reality of what it is that y'all signed up for. You know, I guess like a little message to everybody that's going to be potentially left behind. But by the end of this episode, it don't look like it's going to be much or nobody left behind. All right, either way, they call on Bridget, and they say, you know, hey, Bridget, get up and do your part, of, you know, to get her to do her part of the heist, right? And she goes straight to Ruth and pulls the gun out on her, and we know that Bridget is more than happy to put her gun out on Ruth. And she goes straight to Ruth, and she grabs that knapsack, that basket immediately that has the $300,000 in it, and takes it from Ruth. Now, in order to keep Ruth clear, Bridget should have went inside the trailer and got that money from Ruth, but I feel like Bridget took some solace in getting rid of Ruth, you know, in getting Ruth involved or being able to call her name in this scheme, because there was a way that Ruth could have got off, you know, scot-free in this thing, because there's a lot of people that have access to the highest, a lot of people that could have stumbled upon this money, well, maybe not a lot, but a few people that could have stumbled upon this money, and Ruth could have gotten off scot-free, and I figured that out, you know, by the last scene. But either way, she's pulling Ruth over to the highest, getting her, you know, in front of the group like everybody else. And Bridget almost has like a hard on for this thing. Like, she has this gun to Ruth's head, and she's really ready to use it, but, you know, she doesn't. She doesn't get around to doing it. And so George gets on the radio and tells, you know, some of their other co-conspirators that, hey, you know, go ahead and pull the car around. So they pull that Rolls Royce around. Now, I don't know. I don't know if they're aware that the Rolls Royce has a tracker on it. Let's just go with no. And there's another expedition type vehicle following as well, and that's going to be the rest of their crew bringing up this hill. And so there's 2 carloads of people that are going to be headed out. And then they tell the heist, like, oh, and just so your men don't come after us too tough, you're coming with us. And so Ruth is able to do some kind of judo thing to get the gun away from Bridget, but she does not use it, I guess, to try to remain innocent, you know, in the eyes of everybody that's watching on this grand stage that we're on. And it looks like, but however, Lewis was able to take the gun from Ruth, I guess just to kind of make it look like she's not with them. But the way that Bridget took the money, went directly to her and took the money out of the bag, would give everybody that could see, like, hey, you had the money in the bag, which means you knew what the money was, which means you had something to do with it. Whatever. But what I did realize is, that I didn't see at the end of during last episode is that Ruth is a genius. What she did was she told them, $300,000. That's what I'm going to give y'all. And that's what she put in that little tote bag that she was washing, with her supplies to wash his feet. That's where she put the money. She put the money in that bag. However, the other $3 million she put in the trunk of that old car that she wasn't even sure that was going to work. By the end of the episode, we'll revisit that. But she didn't even have for certain. She wasn't even for certain that car was going to crank. But that's where she put the $3 million and brought them their $300,000. All right. Okay, so Ruth is more than happy to let them drive away because her plan is going to be, in action, and we're going to get things moving. All right. Meanwhile, Desiree and Cal finally get the warrant, and the strike team has also showed up, and they're on the way to the compound. And so the sheriff is trying to make every last-ditch effort to tell them, like, listen, they're going to kill everybody in there, man, woman, and children. If y'all go in there guns a-blazing, let's just chill. And then, so they got the sheriff on one shoulder, and then they got Aaron on the other shoulder saying, hey, I just want y'all to go in there and get my wife. I just want y'all to go in there and get Laura. Y'all got the warrant. I don't care if we got to go guns a-blazing. I don't care who dies, as long as I get my wife. That's where, Aaron is. And so they're kind of going back and forth. And so the sheriff is like, ask Andrew. Like, we down to the wire. Ask Andrew. He'll tell you what you need to know. And so they bring Andrew up to the front to tell him, what their plans are. And he reminds them, like, listen, innocent people are going to die. And they're like, yeah, including another agent. And he just, he kills the charade. He's like, yes, including Malcolm. Malcolm is up there. And then Desiree asks Andrew, like, okay, so what's your insight? What's your input? Which you should have did much, long ago. But here we are. And she asks Andrew, like, hey, what's your input? What do you think we should do? And he thinks that they should wait until the heist leaves the compound because his soldiers are going to be less likely to follow his word when he is not present. And he gives them more insight into the Raku that even Aaron does not know. And he tells them, listen, the people without guns have been instructed to drink poison, to include the kids, if he is there to ring this bell. So again, he should not be on the compound when this goes down. And he's like a Jim Jones type character. Google it. I'm not, privy enough on who this guy is to speak on him, but I know he's like one of the cult leaders. We can use context clues to figure out he got people to drink the Kool-Aid and this mass murder type of thing. Anyway, he also tells them that, listen, the soldiers are also instructed to kill members if the government gets the best of them. So, if we ram the gate and, maybe you get the 2 or 3 people that are up there at the gate, everyone that is armed inside has been instructed to execute members in the event that y'all get the upper hand. So, which means that we got people executing members executing themselves, members drinking Kool-Aid. There's a mass casualty that's going to mass casualty that is going to happen if y'all just running their guns a-blazing. Braun is not going to beat brains this time, so let's just calm down. He also tells them, listen, I'll give you more information. If you're going to go through the woods and try to sneak attack them, there are wire traps, there's landmines, there's bear traps, there's IEDs, there's bombs, there's different things that are going to set them off again enacting their plan. So we need to wait this thing out. And Desiree, finally believes what Andrew has to say, and she wants to sit it out. And so she asked the sheriff, she's like, what the sheriff and Andrew, like, what will get the heist to leave the compound? And the sheriff says, we all know it's going to be money. And Desiree's like, well, how? And he's like, well, hell, I don't know. You're the FBI. You figure out how to entice him off the compound, but that's going to be your best effort. All right, so Cal sees that the Rolls Royce is moving because, remember, it has a tracker on it, so they don't really have to tempt him off of the compound. It's already moving. They can't confirm if it is him, so now they got to rush out to put eyes on him to make sure that it is him before they go to the compound, to kind of separate him and get the people out. All right. Okay, so everybody is panicked at what's just happened at the compound. Like, everybody's still sitting there, after the prophecy and trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Like, the heist has been abducted. There's a lot happening. Elder Mother is a wreck. I mean, just crying and just all over the place. And Ruth slaps her, and she knows, like, listen, we got to get this, we got to pull it together. And we know Ruth got a plan, and everything she does, says, and believes, child. So we know she got a plan. So she kind of takes the pseudo lead, while Daikon is still sitting there spinning around in circles trying to figure out what the hell just happened. All right. And, she gives the remaining people on the compound this little pseudo pep talk and tells them, listen, the heist has been good to us. And so we don't want to let him down. So, Daikon is taking the gentleman to go pursue him. Well, to go figure out things. We'll talk about that. Either way, she tells the ladies, hey, go find any weapon that you can, whether it's a shovel, a knife, a brooms. Find anything that you can get in order to fight for the highest, to get him back. Or if someone comes into the compound, we need to be able to defend ourselves. And the fact that, a lot of our armed weapons are gone, our bullets are gone, we need to be able to fight these people off. And Daikon is upset, still trying to give bravado. He's mad that she's taking the lead. And she can't be bothered with explaining herself to Daikon. So she's like, Joan, she does a little whisper like, hey, go find River. Go do that. And so Ruth tells Daikon, listen, we need to be ready to any attack that may happen, for whoever may show up while the heist is missing. She also tells him, like, listen, you and the other men, y'all need to track them down on foot because they still have to there's only one way in and one way out. Y'all need to meet them on that path, cut them off, do what y'all need to do. So she was like, listen, you and the men that you have left that are still with us, y'all need to get on the four-wheelers and y'all need to go find him. Cut down a tree across the road. That's going to force them to stop those cars. That's going to flush them out of those cars on foot. And then we can figure out, then we can do hand-to-hand combat or, figure out other ways to get the heist back to the compound. And so Daikon, thinks it's a good idea because, of course, Ruth is thinking for everybody. And then Manny comes rolling up telling them, hey, the four-wheelers won't start. Turns out sugar's been put in the tank or whatever it is to disable the vehicles. So now we got to come up with another plan. And I don't really know what Manny's plan is, for the heist outside of just stealing the combination to the safe, because the safe is no longer, a part of it. Maybe that was just his role. But he's still standing there with his gun as if he don't know if he's coming to go on. But it's, Dirtbag Manny, as some people call him. So who knows? Who knows why he's still hanging around looking dumb. All right. Andrew and the sheriff are talking, and the sheriff he's just flabbergasted because they've been rushed back into their cages because, the FBI, they're going to rush off to cut off the car and see who's in there and confirm the identity, get their plan rolling, right? And so the sheriff is kind of laughing because he's telling Andrew, like, hey, I just can't believe that everybody is up there, all those crazy people are up there at the compound. And Andrew tells him, like, listen, there's some really good people that are up there. There's some people that I care about. And he tells him, listen, not everyone up there is just these psychomaniacs. Some people are just normal people, maybe a little bit naive, maybe impressionable, but they're just trying to make sense of this messed up world, much like you and I. So I don't subscribe to the fact that everybody up there is just these psycho crazed people that believe the exact same way that the heist is. And that kind of comes into fruition when people are starting to leave the compound, a little bit at the time when it comes to Lacey and Zane and Joan and River. Everybody's kind of fading out, out of this compound thing and out of the belief system, which supports, we'll talk about that later on in the review, but that kind of supports the statement that Andrew made, like, just kind of humanizing the people inside of the compound. And then the sheriff tells Andrew that the heist he has to be crazy because y'all are following somebody in a bad wig. Like, what sense does that make? And Andrew's like, well, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, he comes up here once a week or however often and has some girl over at the salon in town to glue his wig down, honey. And that just confirmed to me, like, ain't nothing about this man really true. His name, his age, his height, his skin, nothing about him is truly who he is. And he, just further confirms that he sells these people on these lies that he himself has convinced himself to be true. Even as far as his hairstyle, the sheriff was like, yeah, I actually believe that the man is bald-headed. Like, your delusions are grand, and I can't be bothered. All right. River goes to Ruth, and he sees that all the money is, I guess he went to the trailer to confirm that the money is gone or to see what he can get or whatever it is. And he tells her that all the money is going, and Ruth tells him, like, yeah, you know, the group stole all of that money. We know Ruth got that money in the back of that old car, but that the group took it all, and that there's no reason for you to stay here. You know, you should go. There's nothing holding you here. Of course, I'm still here because I'm still looking for my daughter. And he agrees. He's like, you know, there's nothing here. And she claims that I can't leave until I find my daughter, like I said. And and River's like, okay, well, I still want to stay here with you, you know, to kind of help you out. I don't want to leave you by yourself. And she's like, listen, I'm a big girl. I can handle it. But not only that, you should get Ghost because we've committed a lot of crimes while we were on the compound. And, you know, I'm a big girl. I can take what comes. But, you know, I don't want you to be here when the FBI comes. You know, we've done a lot of things. You tried to poison Peter. You know I'm going to get a child abandonment charge. Like, there's a lot of things that's going to come. So I think you should get Joan, and you two should just fly away, little birdies. Just go ahead and I'll be fine. And he tells her, he said, she tells him, like, hey, you should also get Joan to split that $1 million with you. You know, I'm going to be here. I doubt that she'll be willing to split with me. I'm good. Don't worry about it. Her and Laura may already be gone, so you should just go track her down. And y'all should, you know, leave with what you got left. All right. So, Ruth is she's gonna do a lot of this, I don't know what to call it. She's consolidating a lot of these relationships and convincing these people to leave, because even though it's like I don't know the technical term, I'm nobody's psychologist or whatever, but there's like a group thing happening. Kind of like drawing like a line of water around an ant and them still staying within the confines of that thing. Like, even though the gate is wide open, we're still looking to Ruth for answers and trying to figure out, you know, should we stay here to keep the fight going with Ruth, to help her with her daughter? And she's kind of absolving them of their obligation to her and their responsibility to them. Now, it's under the guise that she got this $3 million and she really don't give a damn anymore. But still, she's kind of wrapping these things up, and you can kind of see some sadness when, you know, she's watching these people walk out of the gate and she, quote unquote, has to stay behind to find her daughter. Now, we'll get into my predictions at the end of what I think that really looks like, but that was interesting. Either way, River goes looking to see if Joan is gone, and she's still hanging around. He thought she was going to be gone by now. And he asked her, like, hey, why aren't you gone? And she was like, listen, I can't leave you and Ruth behind. You know, they've been good to her. They've helped her endure this thing, and she just can't run off with the money. Joan offers to share her money with him and Ruth. Even with everything that Ruth had going on, she still offers to share her $1 million. And they know that Ruth ain't leaving without her daughter, so it sounds like they're still going to go, but they're going to hold on to Ruth's portion of that money and send to her later on. Joan says, listen, I'm leaving, and she asks River to come with her, and it's, you know, through tears because we're so close to freedom. And she tells him, listen, we're going to change our clothes and we're going to leave. And she tells him, like, listen, I wouldn't have survived this thing without you. And that was just so touching to me. It almost made a thug cry, but I did cry. I'm going to tell y'all what I cried at, but not right here. Anyway, Laura and Zane, they go to Ruth to see why she's not leaving. Like, they're looking at her like, girl, why are you, girl, get out, we gotta go, like, this is what we've been wanting. And again, she's playing the daughter angle and telling them, listen, y'all know I can't leave without my daughter. And she tells them, like, listen, y'all have no ties here, just go, just follow the main road up to the bank and you're done. They offer, again, this is another group of people that they feel indebted to Ruth because she's helped them through a lot of things and kind of guided them and made this place just that much more tolerable. You know, whether in friendship or whether in plotting an escape, either way, they feel indebted to her, and so she has to absolve this particular group as well to get them to go through the open gate and be free. And so they offer to stay, but she won't have any of it. She tells them, like, go change into your civilian clothes and just go. And they tell her, like, listen, I wouldn't have made it without you. And at that moment, all of the women that she sent to go find weapons, they show back up, again, looking to her for guidance and instructions on the next step. And she says, listen, what we're going to do is we're not going to sit here and wait for an attack. We're going to go follow the men. You're going to go on foot and follow the men and bring up the rear to help them, you know, have more manpower in case they have to fight to get the heist back to the compound. Again, of course, she just wants this compound empty so she can do what the hell she needs to do and drive out the front gate, which is what she ends up doing. Anyway, She sends them to follow the men on foot, and she does not go with them. She's like, listen, I have to stay here. And so the compound is essentially empty at this point. There's nobody left except the people that want to leave. Nothing holding them back. You know, the men are gone. The women that still buy into this thing, they're gone. So it's a free for all for everybody that wants to live. And so this plan has freed up a lot of people that may have had little side plans to get their crap and go. And so now the compound is empty, and then Laura comes up again. She's holding hope that Aaron is going to come get her. She's like, listen, Ruth's like, go. Like, this is your opportunity. The gates are open. Your husband's going to have more solace in the fact that you're already gone. When he does show up, just go. Again, you know, freeing Laura up from her ties to hoping that Aaron is going to come back, which don't make no damn sense to me because, girl, if the gate is open, go. If you got to fight on the outside to stay out, that's cool. But there's so many of y'all that are running, it's going to be hard to get all of y'all back at the same time. So I'm a proponent of everybody, you know, taking the chance. They can't catch us all. That's just my theory. All right. Elder Mother comes stumbling back to where, you know, the gazebo, wherever they had the prophecy at, and she is blitzed, child. She has a drink in her hand, and she's just talking to Ruth. And initially, I was thinking like she had just made her own, you know, poison Kool-Aid, her poisonous punch, because she realized that, you know, things may be bleak with the highest, and she just is not going to be able to live without him. But it's just hooch, child. It's just moonshine or whatever it is. And she has Ruth like, hey, why didn't you go with the other women? She's like, listen. Ruth tells Elder Mother, like, girl, I don't have no more fight left in me. I just don't. And she asked her, what are you drinking? She was like, girl, it's water. And Ruth is like, it's brown. It's liquor. Stop playing me. And she compliments Ruth on how she fought for the highest. And she now believes that Ruth is here for the highest. And, you know, she should have never doubted her. Blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, she's saying all this stuff between drunken stupor and, you know, drunken hiccups or whatever. Either way, Elder Mother admits that she has nowhere else to go. And so this is it for her. If the heist doesn't come back and this thing falls apart, she's going to be sleeping under a park bench. She's homeless outside of this compound. And so this is her only sense of importance. This is her only lifeline. This is her only means to an end, like her food, her sense of importance, her place in the hierarchy. Like outside, she means nothing to nobody. She has no family. She left her job to follow the highest. And so she has to continue believing that he is who he says she is. But in this section, she did ask Ruth, like, hey, now, again, I know it's in between drunk and stupor. She says, if he's the highest, why couldn't he command them to obey him? And that should give you clarity. Like, okay, girl, he ain't who he say he is. But so much of her life and her self-worth is tied up into being in service to the highest. Elder Mother not going nowhere. If anything, she'll make her poisonous punch and drink it. That's going to be her fate. All right. She needs for the heist to be okay because there's no leader without him. Blah, blah, blah. She's just rambling. And Ruth is like, girl, go lay down. And when the heist comes back, it's going to be a long night. But when he comes back, I'm going to wake you up and we'll just, you know, she's still selling Elder Mother this dream that she's still there. Even though, again, I know she's trying to get everybody away from her so she can do what she needs to do as painless as possible. All right. River and Joan are hand in hand, ready to leave, and they come to give their final goodbyes to Ruth. Joan still offers to split her money with Ruth. She was like, Ruth, I'm not, even though you're not leaving right now with us, I'm still going to hold your money for you. You know, in indebtedness, gratitude, whatever it is that, you know, these people feel for Ruth. And River's like, listen, I'll make sure that she does. And Ruth she's not buying it. Now, whether she gives a damn because she has $3 million or not, that could be the greater that could be the greater concern, but whatever. They don't know how they will find each other after this, so they tell Ruth, like, hey, we'll set up some social media accounts, something about the Raku 1 and the Raku 2 child, so that she can find them on social media. And Joan is just begging for them to be okay. Even though she's free and she got $1 million, again, like, it's the psyche of it all, y'all. She is telling Ruth, like, listen, are we okay? I just need to know that we are okay. She needs this thing to be good before she can leave. And Ruth is like, girl, I'll find out when you send me my money. Like, y'all go, be great. But you can see a sadness. I know that there's a tough exterior to Ruth, but there was a sadness watching them walk because they had planned this thing for so long. And it did not work out how Ruth Joan and Rivers has had it set up, but it's now here and the gate is open and there's nothing stopping anybody from going, and she still has to hold herself here. Even if it's for about 5 to 10 more minutes, she can't leave with the people she started this thing with. And so you see sadness in her eyes. At least that's what I saw. Either way, Zane and Laura show up, and so there's Zane, there's Laura, there's River, there's Joan, and there's Ruth, and we're all sitting here and we're doing this kumbaya, and we're doing this last little thank you. Like, I would have never been able to get out without you, and it seems so final. And girl, this is the part that made me, sir, ma'am, whoever watching, this is the part that made me cry. It, like I said, it was so final, and just to see all these people's plans coming to fruition. But that wasn't what got me. It was to see all these people endure and persevere through something that was so traumatic. Like, there's a lot of people that got unalived during this thing. There's a lot of people that unalived themselves, and a lot of people that groups of people at this point that tried to escape and were unsuccessful. And for example, what's her name? Laura, not Laura. What's the other girl name? Lacey, for example, like, she tried and she failed. And so to see these people come to this thing where they're finally free, hopefully, they're finally free. And for all this to be done, child, I was here crying boogers, not tears. I was crying like a dog. Don't tell nobody. But anyway, and that just kind of humanized the fact that people really do get caught in these things. Like I said, looking for answers and looking for ways to navigate this thing that is life, and to get into something and realize, like, you screwed up and you made a very big mistake, and you are now stuck in this thing. And people end up stuck in these types of things for years before they get the strength, and before they can plan, before they can get the resources to get out. And to see this group of people get out that I've been with for 4 seasons, some less, some a little less than that, but for 4 seasons, and to finally be able to skip out the front gate hand in hand. And the money, cool, the money is great, but the freedom is greater. What? Picasso. All right. Ruth goes to that old car. As soon as everybody's away from her, everybody said their goodbyes, she runs to that old car, and she is literally praying, like, I really hope this car starts. And it cranks. It cranks. And she drives right out of the front gate with her $3 million in the trunk. She has everything that she needs. Now, I'm looking forward to next week's episode, because I need to know that she has found her daughter. Maybe that brochure did have an address, but she needed to tell everyone that she didn't have an address in order to, kind of set her plan up and make sure that she gets her $3 million before she goes to this hotel, because it was a brochure for the hotel, but I'm not sure why the address wouldn't be on that brochure. I don't know. Maybe she does have the address and she's now going to head to her daughter. Now, I don't know how this thing will continue on with all these people that have left the compound, you know what I mean? Or if the spinoff is going to be Ruth now going to the hotel to fight this super predator, pedophile, to get her daughter back. And Tally's daughter, we can't forget about Tally's daughter. We'll see how that unfolds. Either way, that is how this particular saga is going to end. In the meantime, the FBI sees that he's in the car, and they confirm that he is there, and so they're coming to that Rolls Royce to detain him or whatever they're going to do. And so Desiree and Cal are headed to him, and the strike team is headed to the compound. Meanwhile, Lewis and company, Bridget and George, child, they pull the heist out of his car. So I guess the black car, they've escaped. They gone on about their business. Maybe they don't know about the money, because the money is with these 3 people in this car, or 4 people in this car, right? They pull over, and they pull him out of the car, and they're making fun of the fact that the heist didn't reveal it to him. Oh, you're so great and you're so mighty, and the Raku didn't reveal this to you. You're not as great as you are. Like, just beating him down with the words or whatever. And he ain't there. He's unmoved by your insults. And then he tells them, listen, y'all are going to have a mean and tragic ending. But in the meantime, I had no idea about the plan. How did you get the money? And so they mentioned the money to him, like, yeah, you were so great, and we were able to get $300,000 up out of you, blah, 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 blah. And so they're bragging about the money, and so now that's just funny. They're laughing. He's laughing at him, like, taking him for a joke, because he's like, listen, y'all bragging about $300K, and he knows in his mind that there's more money than that. And so Bridget brags that Ruth is the one that gave them the money, and now it's even more hilarious, because he realized, like, shit, I've been played by Ruth. Y'all been played by Ruth. We got something in common. And then she tells him, listen, Ruth has played y'all. He tells him that, listen, there was $3 million under that daybed. And I guess Bridget's, I wasn't able to confirm during the last episode where she went in, but she said she went into the trailer and saw that there was no more money left under there. I guess not thinking that, hey, Ruth probably got that money during the prophecy, whatever. But she's saying, like, he's lying to y'all. Don't believe him. We need to keep moving. But he's getting to Lewis. Lewis is a hothead, and he's egotistical. Much like the heist, they got that in common. He's like, nah, 300, that doesn't make sense. And he's like, listen, so you think I would be going to the bank every day to come up with that little bit of chunk change? It doesn't make sense. And so that's confirming, like, hey, Ruth played y'all for some suckers, which, hell, everybody can't get the $3 million. I'll take my $300,000 and I skedaddle. I don't know why we're standing out in the middle of the woods, not far from the compound, talking about it. Like, that's just dumb. And Bridget is kind of giving this foreshadowing, like, yeah, it's very eerie out here. We need to get our shit and go. But y'all want to sit out here and talk and, swing nuts or whatever's going on. So now Lewis wants to go back for the rest of the money because he's starting to believe, like, hey, the heist is lying to me. Ruth played me for a sucker. And he said, listen, we got all the guns. We can go back. We got the highest. We can go back and get the money. And he knows that Ruth must have moved the rest of that money. And so Lewis is the only one that insists on going back. Bridget is like, listen, let's just calm down. George is like, boy, you tweaking. Like, we got what we came to get. Let's go. Lewis is trying to insist and trying to, not push up on him, but push his will on them so that they can leave. And in that moment, Bridget is then sniped through the forehead. And then we also see Desiree and Cal kind of staking out the car and seeing what's going on. And there's an FBI agent that walks up to them. And Agent Fred has also taken a bullet through the head. And so now we know that the men has been able to catch up with him through the woods. At one scene, Dicon and some of the men that are still with him was able to track down another soldier in the woods and get his gun because it still had bullets in it. And so I'm sure they're using that to take people out and get the heist back. Now, I don't know what that means for Desiree and Cal. Y'all better get low and y'all better get out of Dodge. But here we are. And so the heist is just standing there amongst the, the gunfire, and he's just smiling because he knows his people's there to get him. And that is how the episode ends. So, like I said, it was a whole lot that went on. There's a successful, quote-unquote, successful escape plan. I'm going to say that because I just cannot fathom how the show is going to go on with most of the key players being gone to include Ruth, because I don't think it's safe for Ruth to ever go back to that compound. So that's why I'm playing the angle of her going to try to get that daughter from the hotel. That maybe that's where she's going to run into the heist again. Not really sure. But I do know the heist is going to be able to be recaptured and taken back to the compound. And, I guess deal with whoever is left. Most of the key players are gone, so I don't know how this is going to look, but we'll figure it out. Let me know what you think about the episode. Drop it down in the comments and we can talk about it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.